Greetings, I'm Bairnt and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. Today we're going to be doing our playthrough of Skyrim. We're going to start in Chapter 1. I did think about doing the tutorial, but I decided against it. I want to play Skyrim and I want to show you everything that has to be going on inside of this immense game. There are many different ways to play it. You can play it solo, cooperative, there's even a competitive mode. You can play it as a campaign, you can play it as free roam. It's almost just like the video game. You can pretty much play however you decide is best for you. Playing through the first chapter in this game, there will be spoilers, but this is such a huge, gigantic game that you're not going to see everything that could possibly happen to us in this one playthrough. There's a lot of replay that can happen based on the amount of cards and quests that are actually in this game. This video is also going to be seen on the One Stop Co-op Shop, so if you're seeing it there, you're going to be seeing the full playthrough of Chapter 1, but all the other chapters are going to be done over on my channel, Meet Me at the Table. The link to it is in the description below. So if you see what you like and the One Stop Co-op Shop, please check out my other channel because I'll be showing a lot more of this game there. Now, if you're excited to see if our character can make it through the world of Skyrim, which I haven't finished the video game because it's super, super big, then I need you to meet me at the table. We're going to quickly go through a setup here. The first thing is we want to get these small cards all set to go. This is our enchantment and upgrade deck. Then we have the 3 different treasure decks, and these are going to be the decks we can use when we go to town to buy things. They're going to be the Might deck, the Shadow deck, and also the Sorcery Market, and theirs are ready to go. This deck right here is an interesting deck. This deck has numbers associated with it, so this one says S1. You do not shuffle this one. You leave this deck in numerical order, so when you need to go grab a card from it, you can. These are going to be more quest type cards that you're going to gain as spoils from some of the quests you do, or potentially maybe a monster you fight. It might give you one of these cards, but the rest of these we can shuffle them all up and make them completely random. The game comes with a really good insert that actually keeps your tokens quite organized if you need to. You have your skills. These are the different resources we get. We have gold and experience here. These are our threat markers, and these are going to be the wandering monsters. Now, I do have the upgrade where we can use actual standees for these, or not standees, sorry, miniatures for these, but I don't know if we're going to do that. I like just having this out on the board because I think it's a lot easier to manage. These are the different cubes you'd use for your characters, for monsters when you fight them, and for other things to keep track of in the game. These are all the components used for questing up here, and these are our horses if we ever decide to get any of them. The next set of cards we're going to get ready are going to be the Wilderness and Town Adventure decks right here, where if we explore in those areas, we're going to be drawing one of those. These are all the decks that are going to be associated with whatever dungeon we decide to travel into. And there's multiple different dungeons, and you're going to have a card associated with the campaign that you're on. So we're in Campaign 1, we're using Chapter 1. So if we decide to stop at any of these locations and explore, we're going to be fighting these particular monsters drawn from the top of these decks. Now, these decks are in numerical order, starting from a level 0 all the way down to, I believe, like level 7 or 9 or something. But at the beginning of the game, you're going to only be fighting what your level is. But as you level up, all the decks level up. Just like in the game of Skyrim itself, when you play it, the monsters level to as you level, not just in different areas of the game. The whole entire game is leveling up as you level up, so that's pretty cool. So we'll be removing cards from this deck and potentially adding them if certain quests and missions tell us to. The next thing we're going to grab is our player board, and we are going to play solo just like if we were playing the game, because sadly you can't ever play cooperative in Skyrim, which is something I think every human on the planet would love to do. We're going to take our color for our character. We're going to grab red, and we're just going to grab the personal quests for those characters. This is the starting player token. We are going to be the starting player. On this dashboard, you're seeing many different things. This is where you're going to store experience and gold. This is where you're going to store the different types of resources you get. May it be herbs, or you get ore, or soul shards. You're going to store them all in this area. These are where you're going to gain skills. As you level up, you're going to be able to choose new skills to gain, and they're going to be found here. For example, this one is our alchemy skill. If we ever level up enough to get a skill, we could choose to get that skill, and we cover it up. Then if we ever get 8 experience points, we're going to go to the next skill, so far and so forth as we go down. If you ever get to the point where this entire thing is filled and you get 15 experience points, you can make one of these skills legendary by flipping it over. And then notice you're going to be able to gain a little bit extra bonus besides just what you normally would for a normal skill. On top of that, as you level up, you're going to be moving these tracks forward, and therefore, as you move these forward, like I said, the monsters in the dungeons and some of the quests are going to become more difficult as you go forward. It's a really neat system. I really enjoy being able to grab these skills and sticking them out of my character. I think that's really awesome. Also, you're going to notice here 4 backpack items. Also, and up here we have what we're going to be able to wear. We have head armor, 2 different hands, and a boot. And then we have 4 trinkets that we can wear. And down here we can have different statuses. Hopefully they're good, but of course there are probably some bad ones. These stats you see here are stamina, magicka, and health. As you take health damage, you're going to lower this one. Using different items that involve like swinging swords and something of that nature, or parrying or dodging and things, is going to cost you stamina, and then casting any type of spells will cost you magicka most of the time. And as you level up, you'll just move this particular track marker up a little bit, and then you'll just be able to gain more of that particular stat as you go forward. And the more you have of a certain stat, the, I guess, higher level you are, which is pretty good. And some of the quests you'll have will actually show you kind of a recommended level for it. So if you haven't ever leveled up, you may not want to go for that level 3 quest yet, but we'll see how that goes during the playthrough. On top of that, each of our characters do come with a miniature. We have our miniature here. They do not come painted. I painted this on my live painting episode last week. So if you're interested in seeing how we painted this miniature up, please go check out that video. And I'll show you exactly how I painted it up and how I got this snow all over this base, which is pretty cool. The community voted on the snow. It's pretty neat. But my Patreons voted on the actual character we're playing right now. That was the votes were from our Patreon, and the Patreon voted for the Nord. So the Nord is our character that we're going to be running around with in Skyrim. If you're interested in helping decide who we play with, what we play with, and what we actually play, please check out a link to my Patreon. It's in the description of this video as well. These last 2 things over here I'm just going to touch on. One of them is actually part of the campaign. This is what's called the Blades deck, and we'll learn a little bit about that as we move into the campaign. But this is the other character you play with. When you do play solo, you don't actually play this character, but you're going to be moving this marker back and forth between your character and this character. What this does is it symbolizes the fact that if you play with multiple people, after the end of everybody's turn, you're going to go through a beginning of turn step, which you're going to be drawing event cards and things of that nature. And this this still gives us basically 2 turns before we're going to be drawing event cards and things of that nature. Now, this character will never take a turn actually, but it will prevent us from being overloaded with events and story things that we won't be able to deal with out on the board, because it's just going to be so much going on. So they give you kind of an every other turn to draw these different events and things like that. And I'll show you how that works during the playthrough. Most of the chapter is going to be found on cards being discovered during the game, but here's a little bit of flavor text kind of giving a small idea of what is going on. A group of blades escape the Great War in Cyrodiil, hoping to find a safe haven in Skyrim. Once they are there, they try to build a normal life, but conflict follows them. So then it goes through a lot of the setup, and I'll just kind of read the first part of this, but then I'll just show the setup instead of reading it and then showing it. So it says to shuffle the Campaign 1 chapter event cards and place them out on the event stack. Also, there's a place called the Markath Stronghold, and it's under control of the king, and this isn't accessible, and it won't accept any of these threat tokens during the chapter, and even the next one. So like I read, we're going to be shuffling up all the events from Chapter 1, and you can figure out what that is by this little symbol here. It does show Campaign 1, Chapter 1. So you're going to take all of those cards, which are all these cards right here, and we're going to give them a good old truffle shuffle here and get them all set to go. We'll place them back down there, and those are the events to be drawing for this chapter. Here's Markath, as they're saying. I'm going to place this token there, symbolizing that we cannot go there, and this particular town cannot gain any threat. Here's card 209, which it tells us to take so we can understand a little bit what's going on in the world. It says, year 175 of the 4th era. The Great War rages across Tamriel. A group of young blades recruits go on their first mission, a patrol around the forests of Cyrodiil. A Thalmor ambush catches them off guard, and they barely escape alive. Upon returning to their camp, they find it desolated. The Thalmor have been here. Cyrodiil is not safe for them anymore. They escaped to Skyrim, far from the Thalmor's clutches. In Skyrim, the Reachmen have conquered Markath, and tension between them and the Nords are rising. Another thing I want to show is this particular thing here. It does show the number of players that we're playing with, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and what cards we have to remove And also, if we're supposed to place a token down based on our player count. We are playing with 1, so we are going to remove 1, 80, 81, and 82. We're going to put a token on Solitude. But if you're playing with 4 players, you're not going to remove anything. You're just going to start the game. So a lot more of the game is going to be explained through these cards, and you're going to have to uncover them through your characters. But for us, we're just going to put a token on Solitude, and we still don't know what this particular card is. Hopefully we'll find out soon. And then we'll have to know why we need to get to this particular place. So I'm going to place just our red token up here on Solitude and remove cards 180, 81, and 82 from the game. The next thing the intro to the campaign tells us to do is to take cards 160, 61, and 62, and 63. Give these a good old truffle shuffle real quick here, and we have to pick one of these, and this is, I believe, going to be our starting quest. So we'll shuffle these up a little bit, keep on giving them all nice little shuffles here. No idea what's going on here. We'll give them another little truffle shuffle. Sadly, they are, you can kind of see what's going on, but I have no idea because there's no idea what these are. All right, it says here, we are framed. Oh, no, we got framed. Let's see what it says. I see a familiar face in the crowded streets of Solitude. Nidalus Juris, a man I knew before I joined the Blades. When I approach him, he starts screaming, "Murderer!" In a matter of minutes, I'm arrested and chained to a wall in the dungeons of Castle Dur. The man guarding me openly claims my arrest is an injustice. I manage to sway him to help me escape. Once released, I track down my accuser. He is not hard to find, living in the poorest quarters of the city. I break into his house and find a mysterious note. We're going to flip this card. It says here, "Dearest Nitillus, you've known so many people throughout the years. Many of them joined the Blades' cause. You'll recognize their names on the back of this letter. If you manage to work your influence to get them arrested, you'll be glad you did. Mavoria Carnia." On the back of the letter, I find a list of the names of Blades, mine included. Place your figure in Solitude. Then we have 2 different options. I'll recruit a mighty warrior to help me find this person. Choose 2 equipment cards and go to 168, or I'll reach out to someone wiser than me to help me find this Moravia person. Choose 2 equipment cards, go to 170. Well, I am a Nord warrior, and I think I'm going to do pretty good at fighting, so I'm not sure if I'm going to need any recruiting mighty warriors. I think it would be better to find somebody that's wise that can help me discern things. So we're going to choose 2 equipment cards, and we're going to grab card 170. Before we look at the equipment I chose, there are a couple things. One thing I forgot to do when we were showing you the player board, I forgot to show you that we were supposed to start with this equipment. We're always supposed to start with ragged robes, fists, and a minor healing potion that we can use herbs to use to heal us in combat or during combat rounds. At this point, though, we get to choose 2 different items. And from what I understand, which I don't think is clearly said in the book, is that you have to choose 2 that are craftable. Otherwise, you could get some really bonkers items out of there, and really it's almost pointless to try to go after anything in that deck. Like, for example, I could have took the steel greatsword. Look at this thing. This thing's out of control. There's a ton of damage, but it's not craftable, so I can't really take something like that. Now, something else you're noticing on this card is down here. These can be enchanted, and they can also be upgraded. In cities, you can upgrade and enchant things if you have these particular resources to spend to do that, which is going to make these more powerful and give you little bonuses. Also, on top of these cards, it tells you how it's going to be used in battle and what it's going to be used outside of battle, or in battle. Like this, for example, could block. Plus, it's going to give me 1 extra armored versus heavy attacks, where this one's giving armor versus light attacks. So it's kind of nice to have these. Now, when I want to place these down, though, I have to get rid of my fists because, after all, the fists are now holding these. This is a one-handed weapon, as you can tell by this symbol right here. It shows one-handed, where if it was a 2-handed weapon, for example, like this one right here, it would have 2 hands like that. So I can actually carry 1 in each thing. I do have 2 more spots left to put things. I have boots and a helmet. Now, of course, I don't have those yet. Hopefully we'll find some. We'll see how it goes. The other thing we have to do is grab card 170, which says Unwanted Guests. Edwell, a summoner, is still nominally a blade, even though she spends her time researching in the College of Winterhold. So we have to go to Winterhold. When we do that, we will continue reading on this card. And right here, this is what I was talking about earlier. This shows you what potential level you should be in order to try to take on this particular quest. It's 0. So I think we should probably be okay. We'll see how it goes. Let's head over to Winterfeld and see if we can find out. Here is our turn sequence card that we're going to go through for at least the first round here. We'll start at the top. It says resolve any game effects that occur before drawing an event card. We, of course, don't have any of those. Then we're going to start. The starting player will draw an event card. And there are 3 potential event cards we can draw. We can draw instant events, which will resolve immediately, then place an event in the discard pile. We have active events. We'll place any existing active events in the event discard pile, then place the new active event in the active event slot. So, of course, these will be pushing other things out, and the world will be changing as we play through it. The effects are immediate. The last one is a world quest. We're going to place the world quest event in a slot over on the game board. If there are already 4 world quests, the players decide which one to automatically fail to make room for a new one. So if you see a world quest over there and they're starting to get a lot of them, you might want to start working on those world quests so that you don't fail them, because that could cause tragic events to happen across the world. Then we're going to resolve any game effect that occur after drawing event cards. And then we're going to add 1 threat to any stronghold that already has 3 threat on it. Now, of course, that's not going to pertain to us at the beginning here, but as we play through the game, we're going to be placing threat potentially in cities. And if they ever get to 3, they're going to be what's called rioting. And that is why it's asking us to add 1 from a stronghold with 3, because when you have 3 threat, you can't gain any more and you're in a riot situation. Of course, you can help out cities that do have threat. I believe you can go to them and pay 5 gold to remove one of these symbols or one of these tokens, these threat tokens from there, to hopefully get it out of rioting. And you could even pull it as far back as cleared and things of that nature, so that the city becomes less, has no threat on it over time. Of course, it costs a lot of money to do and time. And that's because you can only remove 1 threat per turn. So I couldn't pay like 15 gold and remove 3 from one town. You can only remove 1 each turn. So we have our Chapter 1 event cards right here, all shuffled up and ready to go. Let's see what our first card is. We have found Misery Bargain. All right, it says here, go to any stronghold and turn in 10 gold to draw from that particular deck. Discard this card once used. And right now, if you notice, there's 2 of these symbols here. We have to place that much threat out on the board, maybe on cards or in cities. And this is going to be an active event. So of course it'll go in our active event area here. And if we draw another active event, then it will go to the discard. But for now, I can go to any stronghold, turn in 10 bucks, which I don't have, and I can draw from one of the better decks. It's the silver deck of items, this silver back deck. The silver back deck is better than, of course, our bronze back deck, which has got all the starting equipment and a few good things in there as well. So let's go find a place to put this threat. I'm not sure if we want to start placing threat out on the world, on those different cities. I think instead we're going to place it on our quest card. If you notice this number up here, this shows you how much threat a quest card can have before it is auto-failed. I'm going to place 2 on that particular quest card. We'll place them right there. And that'll be it. The reason I'm doing that is hopefully we can get to this before it fails. And if we are able to complete the quest, if it has threat on it, once you flip the card and deal with it and complete this, then this threat goes away. So it's one way to keep threat off the board, is to keep on getting these quests so you can keep placing them onto it. Moving back over to our reference card for the turn sequence, we can now see what we are going to do. And I really think this is cool because it says all players move at the same time. So we are able to do that all at the same time as a cooperative game. So it gives you that ability. Though when it comes to the actions you're going to do, they're all going to kind of resolve most of the time in turn order or with player order, but some of them you could actually do on your own. If you're on one side of the board, the other person on the other side of the board, you can both do one pretty much at the same time, because you're not going to be affecting what you're going to do. Sadly, there's not a lot of things you can do together. You can go through dungeons together, and there's some world quests and things of that nature you can work together, but any of the personal quests, for example, the one I'm on right here, this is a personal quest. Another person cannot help me with that personal quest. That is completely something I have to do on my own, even if they're in the same place. But for now, each player is able to move 4 spaces using the roads. If we had a horse, we could go additional space. And players starting their turn in strongholds can take a carriage to move directly to another stronghold by paying 1 gold for each border between holds crossed, ignoring roads. And I'll show you that right now. Going to the map, you're going to see a lot of things on this map. This is pretty cool. First thing you're going to see, first these colored borders. I want to quickly talk about that carriage. See these colored borders here that are going around? We have a blue, kind of a grayish border, a green border, a red border, and then this kind of light white border up here in Winterhold. If we wanted to, we could pay to take a carriage all the way over to Winterhold, but we have to pay 1 gold for each one that we're moving into. It doesn't follow the roads, it follows the actual groups of areas that we're moving through. So it costs me 3 gold to get over there. Of course, we have 0, so we're not going to be taking a carriage. Instead, we're going to have to follow these roads around in order to get to this place over here, this Winterhold. So we have to get there, and we have to get there fast because we already have 2 threat on that card. So our fastest way would be going 1, 2, 3, 4 right into Dawnstar if we wanted to, or we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'd still be next turn 1, 2, 3, 4 away. The reason why these two are different is we'd be drawing different particular cards to find out what is going to be happening once we get to some of these places. Also in Dawnstar, I could buy things, or I could also enchant, or I could upgrade an item, but of course we don't have anything that's really going to do that. The other way I could go is potentially trying to find a place to fight some enemies, and those are going to be located in these areas here. And of course the difficulty is based on this card here, so this is the easiest potential place to fight things, which would probably be our better place. There's also some mines. They're actually not shown right here. Oh, I think we have one right here. Then there's these symbols here. That's the third. Then we have the other one, which is the, where's that one? That one's right here. And then the last one is this one. And that's the order of the difficulty. So I'm not sure I want to stop here on my walk over to here because I'm pretty sure I'll get wrecked if I go into this place because we're fighting the most hardest of monsters. And then I am a basic little warrior here. I think our best bet is just to go 1, 2, 3, 4 into that particular city, and we'll draw a card once we get there. Now that we've moved, after we go into our action, we all get to do 1 move and 1 action each turn. So during the turn, each player can do one of the following. We can either complete a quest, which sadly I don't have any that are going to be able to be completed where I am. The next one is I could explore a dungeon. Again, we're not in a dungeon space. We did have that option, but sadly some of the dungeons we could get to were probably going to be pretty bad for us, so we didn't decide to go in that direction. We can then explore either a stronghold or in like a outside area. We can explore one of those two, and both of them come with their own set of cards that are going to have some things that we can deal with there. Or then we can encounter a roaming monster. As we play through the game, some monsters might come out on the board that are going to walk around the world and cause havoc and pain. And we could land on those monsters and take them out so they're not going to cause pain and agony to any of the strongholds or other things that are going on in their world. And it says here, after completing an encounter with a roaming monster, the player may move 1 space, ending their movement in an empty space. So it's kind of still, because sometimes just fighting a wandering monster isn't that satisfying, I guess you could say, and it might be not getting you to where you need to go. So at least this does help you continue that. So from where we are, we're in a stronghold, so we're going to draw a stronghold card. But before we do, I want to show you exactly everything you can do in a stronghold because they're one of the main places you're going to be going. It says when arriving at a stronghold, a player may do the following, and you can do them in any order. You can take 1 turn action to either complete a quest in that stronghold, or we're going to draw a stronghold card, which is what we're going to be doing. We're drawing a stronghold card. We can also upgrade and enchant an item where we can grab one of these cards, the top one if we want, to be able to upgrade or enchant our items that we have. This is going to cost us, of course, materials that we have for our weapons and armor. For example, if we wanted to enchant or upgrade this iron sword, I would have to have those resources. And at this time, of course, we don't have any resources. We're not going to happen anytime. So we can sell items. You can always sell them for exactly the number that is on the bottom here. That doesn't change based on where you are. Of course, some of the world events and things of that might change that. You can buy items. If you decide to buy items, each stronghold has different types of items that are going to be for sale based on where they are. We can also craft items. Again, crafting items is also located on the bottom of this. So if we wanted to craft this, it would cost us 2 of these iron, and we can craft something like this iron sword. Then we can also buy a horse for 10 gold if we want to. And when starting their turn in a stronghold, instead of moving, the player can take a carriage to move directly to another stronghold, moving through holds in their space in the game board, paying 1, which we've already talked about. So that is the things we're going to be doing in the stronghold. So sadly, I don't have any money, and I don't have much I want to sell, and I don't want to buy anything. I can't craft anything, can't upgrade anything. So the only thing we're really going to do is we're just going to take a stronghold card and see what happens to us. So let's flip this over. We have found Adriel Rosenwind. I need to test some of these new arrows. Can you help me? I'm going to gain a resource of my choice. And then I'm going to test my marksmanship. Well, I don't have any marksmanship, so we're going to have to see if we can complete this. This is going to be our first skill check. This is how you do things in the game. We're going to roll 3 dice, and we'd be able to add any more if we had archery. For example, say we had an archery skill, we would get the extra dice, so we'd have 4 to be able to roll. And if it was a legendary skill, we'd get plus 2 more, so we'd have 5 we could roll. This is the result we need in order to succeed in this check. And if we do, we're going to gain 2 experience and gain 2 resources of our choice. And then we're going to discard this card and gain quest number 761. The push over here is when we roll our dice and say we don't resolve what we want to, we can use this particular material to allow us to roll another die. When you do push at the beginning of your game, you can only push a total of 2 times. But as you gain more and more experience, become better, you can push more and more often. And you're going to notice the dice here showing you how many times you can push. Now, another thing I want to make sure you understand is that is only during combat. When doing pushes for the actual skill check I'm about to do, the amount of pushes I can do is based on how many of these I can decide to just throw out. So we do have the ability to push twice if we want to, and we need to get 3 of these in order to succeed at this particular quest. So we get 3 dice. Of course, we don't have the extra for archery, and I need to get 3 of these results in order to pass. Now, we have good news. That is on half of the sides. The other bad news is I've got to roll all 3 of these to be exactly the same. And we got 2. That's so close. So at this point, I have to decide if I want to push. I can spend one of my herbs to roll in another die and see if we're able to pass it. It's a 50-50 chance. It's got to happen. Come on, let's get this. Yes, we got it. We got all 3 successes that we need. Now, the other thing I forgot to do is I was supposed to gain a resource of my choice, and we're going to gain a soul shard just because those are kind of cool. They're these little blue tokens right here. So we're going to grab one of those and put it with the rest of our resources. We were able to succeed on this. This is awesome. All right, so we are going to be able to gain 2 experience points and gain 2 resources of our choice. We are going to remove this and gain quest card 761. We'll put our 2 experience points right here, and I've decided to grab another leaf and another, a iron here, or whatever this is. I think it's iron. It could be stone, it could be, it's whatever you want. Then we also get card 761 here. Now look, there's another place that we can potentially put some of those threat tokens. And it says, the Mere Hunter. You think you are a good hunter. Interesting. How about a challenge? Let's kill some monsters. With these words, Elendril takes her bow and sprints out of sight. It won't be easy to keep up. And says here, objective, clear 3 roaming monsters. Once we do that, and as we clear them, we'll place tokens on this card to track your progress. So we're going to add these to our quests over here. So we now have a couple quests we're working on. I don't know how we're going to get through that one because there aren't any roaming monsters on the board right now. This would have been way better to get if we'd have had a whole bunch of roaming monsters on the board. But that's okay. Maybe we'll get some as we play through. The next thing we do have to do is this card is then removed from the game. So nobody else is going to actually have the ability to do this quest, just us. So we'll see how it all transpires. In the cities, there is another thing we could do, these strongholds. We could also visit the market. I didn't talk about that. I just talked about being able to buy things, but we could go to the market. The reason I didn't want to is the player selects the available decks in the stronghold. And like I said, each stronghold is going to have a chance at growing certain things from where you are. For example, in Dawnstar, the only decks we're able to buy from are going to be these 2 decks. All the other deck is not available for us to buy stuff at. So we would be able to buy things from those particular decks if we wanted to. And we would then, but then here it says the payer pays 1 gold. The payer then draws 1 card from the selected deck. If I had the speech skill, I could draw another one. Then if I didn't like that, what was shown to me in the market, I could pay 1 additional gold to look at more cards. So it does cost money to go to the market, which is why we didn't want to do it in the first place because, well, we have 0 gold. And the player can then keep on paying to draw cards until the deck is depleted. The player pays the cost of any cards they want to buy and takes them. Then the player shuffles all the other drawn cards back into the decks. So this is what you could do at the market if you wish to. Also, you can buy resources for 5 gold each unless there's a difference based on the actual stronghold. For example, if we look at Dawnstar, which is where we are, we would be able to buy these for 3, but these cost 6, so they do cost a little bit more. Or Winterhold, which is where we're on the way to, it's going to cost us 7 to purchase one of these, but only 4 to grab those particular type of resources. And if we wanted to buy anything in Morthal here, We cannot buy soul shards, but we could buy this iron or stone for 5. It's not a change here, but we could buy herbs for 4. And again, like I said, look at there's different types of items that are going to be available to us based on what city you're in. It's really kind of cool. So you got to kind of run around looking for not only the quests and stuff, but if you're in a city that might have something you want, you might want to take a look at what's there. Having completed our action, we're then going to see if we have enough to level up. We only have 2 experience points, so we can't level up yet. We need to have 7. And at this point, we're going to pass the starting player token to the person on the left, which is going to be this character here. And when we do pass it to this character, we're going to skip the first part of the turn sequence cards when it's on that person during a solo playthrough. So we're not going to be drawing any event cards, and we are not going to resolve any players, where is it, the roaming monsters. We're not going to be doing any of the roaming monster stuff either. That is also not going to take place during this particular turn because he has the starting token. So at this point, we're going to just do our next turn. One other thing I want to mention is we now have a main quest and a personal quest. You can never have more than 1 main quest kind of going on at a time. You got to keep working on that. And you could only have 2 personal quests at any one time. If you have more, you're just going to have to discard them or take the fail action. You just can't have more than 2. For example, if we had 2 personal quests and we drew this card, we wouldn't be able to gain this quest card because we already have 2 personal ones. You can't just gain more than 2. We'll move right into the second turn, and now you're going to see exactly how fast this game can go because I don't have to do a lot of explaining on each of the stuff we're doing. So for the first thing we're going to do is every character together can move 4 spaces. I'm going to move 1, 2, 3 across the roads, ending in Winterhold. Once we get to Winterhold, we can take 1 action. One of the actions we can take is to try to complete a quest. The other ones we could do would be to draw a counter or an encounter card from the exploration deck here if we wanted to. And of course, since we're in a stronghold, we do have the ability to do the market, upgrade our equipment, things of that nature as well. We're not going to do any of that because I just don't have the stuff to do anything with. So at this point, we're just going to do what it says. We're going to complete a quest since that is where our personal quest is. Or I shouldn't say personal quest, sorry, our main quest. Moving back over to our main quest, don't forget we have our 2 threat on it, so I don't know if that's going to make a difference or not. Another thing I want to mention that as you're playing through the game and you get through your quests and you don't know what to do with them, you can either discard them, or one thing it tells you to do is you can place them underneath your character, and you can have this, so then you can see as you continue on through the game what stories developed around how your character evolved, which is kind of an interesting concept. Now we're going to move on to here now that we've made it to Winterhold, and it says she's agitated. Apparently one of her experiments went wrong, and now there's a spirit in the cellar that won't leave. She asks for my assistance. So our objective is to clear card 365. Here is card 365. It is an enraged spirit. So we're going to have to go and fight this, so let's take it out. Since we're so zoomed into this card, I'm going to show a few things here before we move over to rolling our dice. I'm going to place these little cubes to the side here. These are the particular armor that this character or enemy has. We have to remove all the cubes from here in order to successfully defeat this enraged spirit. It has a sneak 2 here, where at before combat happens, we can choose to try to sneak in and get a free attack on this enemy before we get into a main combat. Some items and things are not going to allow us to do this, but from where we are right now, we have the ability to sneak because our armor is not, or weapons are not preventing us from being able to sneak. Once we get past the sneak round, we're going to then have to fight him. So he's going to roll an enemy die, and we'll see what particular symbol comes up on this dice. And based on what that is, it's going to be doing one of these attacking certain parts of our armor now against us. So now that you've seen a little bit of this card right up front and center, we're going to move over into the dice tray and take this guy out. There's a lot involved in combat, but it moves along just about as fast as moving across the board, which is pretty sweet. So the first thing we're going to do is look at our combat card, and it starts here with our sneak. It says only one player can do this at the beginning of combat. The player rolls a sneak skill test, adding sneak from their cards. The difficulty is shown on the enemy card. Sneak counts as a full combat round. So if it's a success, a player can choose to resolve combat action. If a failure, the player's round ends. If the enemy has the ambush trait and the sneak was not successful, the player takes the damage from the enemy's action. So this character particularly doesn't have ambush, but if they had ambush, and even if we didn't sneak, the ambush would have happened first. They were laying in wait and they got to us. So they would get a free roll of the die and we would take damage, not being able to do anything about it. But also, if you fail your sneak, again, you'll take ambush damage. But we get to sneak in if we want to, and we have sneak 1 here. So that means we get to add an extra die to this. One thing that could prevent you from sneaking is having heavy armor on, which we do not have at this time. Also, sneak cannot be performed with spells. There are maybe a few exceptions out there, but for the most part, spells cannot do it. So we don't have spells. We have our iron sword, though, so we can sneak in and maybe potentially get a nice free hit on this guy. If you are successful in sneaking, you do have to pay the cost of what it's going to be to do the attack. For example, it's going to cost us 1 stamina to potentially do one of these 2 types of attacks, but you don't have to roll to see if you make it. That's the cool thing. So if we are successful, I'm going to have to spend 1 of my stamina. And of course, if you get down to the end of your stamina and you still want to spend stamina, you can always choose to spend health if you want to. That's one of the options you have. So let's roll our 4 dice and hope to get 2 of these successes here. We did not. And on a sneak, you cannot push to see if you're able to get more dice into this action. So since our sneak has failed, we are now going to go into combat. So the start of combat, you get to do a few things. Here's the order of our combat sequence. The first thing we're going to do is we can choose to use any potions. By that, we would just spend our herbs and be able to use our potions, which we can only use once per combat round. It is right here. We have the minor healing potion. That is just something you can do at the beginning of the combat round. Then you could also choose to switch any equipped items. You can switch out trinkets or any weapons that you want to, and it's going to cost you 1 stamina to do that. You cannot switch out armor, helmets, or boots. That is not something you can switch out. The next thing we're going to do is it says here the players select who will act next. Now, of course, that's just us, so we're going to be the ones acting. Then it says the players will roll the enemy die. After that, then the player rolls the enemy die for any of their allies that are attempting to help as well. Then the players choose an action, and the player will pay the action cost either in stamina or magic. Then the player rolls the skill test for the skill specific in the item. Now, something I want you to understand is that this card is wrong. There is a step that is missing here. After the player rolls the enemy die, our players are allowed to choose to either do a defensive action, a special action, or they could also choose to do an offensive action. So then remember, and then once that's done, then the enemy die is resolved. So if we decide to do an offensive action and the enemy is going to be able to attack us, let's say it decided to roll and it rolled this skull, we would take the 2 damage before our actions even begin. That's the deal. That's why there's a little bit of discrepancy on this card. The enemy, you're going to resolve what the enemy die does before you make your attack. Once that's done, we'll continue on. It says, then we're going to pay for our action, and I'm going to roll my skill test to see what happens to us. And then if we decide to do defensive action, we could potentially block what the enemy's doing, or we could do an offensive action and just get hit by the enemy. And then once that's done, we'll pay for our costs, roll our dice, see if our skill is successful, and if it is, then we get to resolve the action. For example, dealing damage or using a healing prayer from a special action or something of that nature. Otherwise, if the players can push, and I can spend either stamina or I can spend magicka, depending on what I'm using. If I'm using a weapon that causes me to use stamina, then I'm going to only be able to push with stamina. If I'm using a spell that uses magicka, I can only push with my magicka. If I don't have the resource I need to push, like I said before, you can use your health instead to push. And during a combat, you can only push the number of times equal to how powerful you are. At the beginning of the game, we can only do 2. Once we get up to like 2nd level or so, we could then do 3, or even at the highest level of 4, we could then push potentially 4 times to try to get through the armor of this enemy and do some cool, awesome attacks or something. Now that that is done, once we decide to do the pushing and all that, if the player doesn't have enough, we can spend the health, like I said before, and the enemy action is resolved unless the player successfully used a defensive action, and a new combat round begins. Now notice that's down here. That is not right. That should be up in this area up here. Once we decide what action we're going to do, we'll resolve the enemy action, then we resolve our action. That's the deal. So first we'll roll to see what this enemy is going to do. It got an double swords here, so it's going to attack for 2 heavy damage. And at this point now, I'm going to decide if I want to dodge, block, or just let that go through and attack me. I'm going to let that go through and just take the 2 heavy damage, but we're also going to resolve our attack then too as well and see how it goes. And then we'll deal with all of the damage in just a second to show you how it all transpires here. So this is the defense that it has. I can choose to attack with a light attack and do 1 damage. Well, it is able to block up to 3 light damage. But even though it can block 3 and I'm only able to do 1, you automatically do at least 1 damage to move the counter down, no matter how much more defense an enemy has versus your attack. So you're always able to at least do 1. The other thing I could do is I could do a slash, which I could do 2 heavy damage. He doesn't have any protection against heavy damage, so it's going to go straight through. So I'd be able to choose which cubes I would like to move up and down this track based on that particular attack. So we are going to go for the slash attack. So I'm going to take my 3 dice and hope to get that particular thing right there. Let's see how it goes. I did. I got it right here. So we're able to do the 2 damage. Now, of course, he is going to be hitting us for 2 heavy damage as well. So the first thing we'll do is I'm going to choose to attack this light one and move it down 2. So now it's right there. Both the pink and the thing are at 1. So sadly, we do have to hit him 1 more time on both of those tracks in order to defeat this creature. This one is going to do 2 damage. First, we're going to resolve any defense we have that is going to be able to mitigate any of this damage. We have one right here. This is giving me 1 heavy defense damage, or block. It's going to be able to protect me from 1 damage. So it's going to block 1 of the damage. So 1 damage does go through though. So we're going to go back to our character board, and I do have to pay that 1 stamina for the attack I did. Then I am taking 1 damage because this only blocks light, but my shield blocks heavy. If this were to also block heavy, we would have had 2 to be able to block it, which means we'd have taken no damage. But if you take no damage because you're able to block all the incoming damage, you get what's called, I think it's called stunned or something, and you'd still have to pay 1 stamina, but you don't have to take any damage from the actual character, which is pretty good. But of course, you don't have any stamina, you're going to start losing your actual health as well. So that's the first round of combat. The combat round is complete. We're going to go to the top. Now I have to decide if I want to use any potions or if I want to switch out any of my gear that I have. I don't want to do any of that. We're just going to go hit this guy again. And before we move over there, I am going to pay my 1 stamina to either use my defense or to attack, and I'll show you what I mean. All of the different things I have cost me 1 stamina to do, so that's why I paid the 1 stamina already. Let's see what this thing's going to do. It got a fireball. Oh, look at this. It's going to do 2 magic damage and 1 stamina to me. Now, I could choose to dodge that if I want by using my parry, which is I need to roll one of these symbols in order to parry it. The other option I have is I do still have my shield that I can choose to spend 1 stamina to block. So we're going to do that because it's an easier roll to make. I need to get 1. Now notice I can't push on these. There's nothing I can, oh yeah, no, sorry, I can push. I'd have to be pushing with stamina. Let's roll this up. I already paid my 1 stamina. Let's roll these. I just need to get 1. Oh boy, I did not block it. Wow, that's nasty. Now I have to decide if I just want to take the 2 health and the 1 stamina or push to roll another die. I think we're going to push 1 stamina to try to get this extra block here. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible. I'm absolutely terrible. We're going to have to stop right there. Oh no, we might not beat this guy. This could be bad news. Now, if I think the battle's going poorly and I don't think I can take this guy out, we can always run. But if we run, if we're doing it on a quest, we're going to fail that quest. If you also run, you're going to be adding more of that threat to the board. Well, sadly for us, that block was absolutely horrible. We're going to take 2 health and 1 stamina and continue on. I do have an ability, if I wish to, right here on my character card called resting. I can choose to rest, which means I would be at the mercy of whatever that enemy does, but I could heal back 2 stamina and 2 magicka, giving myself the ability to continue the fight, which would probably help us out. That's the end of that combat round. That was an absolutely terrible combat round. Oh my gosh, we got rocked. So at this point, I could choose to use a potion, which I think I might do that. I'm going to use 2 of my herbs, and we're going to heal ourselves 1. And at this point, I'm also going to rest, giving myself back 2 stamina, and my magicka is already at full. You can never go above your maximum. Like I said, I am at the mercy of this enraged spirit. Let's see what he does. He got a skull. Oh, the skull does say slash. So I'm going to take 2 damage. Since I wasn't able to do a defensive action to stop that because he decided to rest, I am going to take the 1 damage because I still do have the 1 defense here. Now let's see how this works. There's a 50-50 chance he could hit me. So yes, a blank. A blank is fantastic. That means nothing happens. Also, if he rolls a symbol that he does not have, like say he rolls this axe, that means that monster is not going to do anything. We're going to try to do this slash. Our slash only needs this particular symbol on the die, and there's a 50% chance I roll that. Now, as we noticed last time, apparently I am against the odds. I am always against the odds here because I didn't roll a single one of those symbols on a 50-50 chance on 4 dice. Let's see how this goes. I got 1. Oh my gosh, I barely made it. Okay, but we do 1 damage, which I'm going to use it on the yellow cube. Even though it has 1 defense here, it would technically stop the one coming through. You always do 1 damage no matter what. So that is that attack. I have 1 stamina left. I am going to probably have to use it to attack, but let's see what this guy does. This guy has the lightning bolt. The lightning bolt is also not there, so we're going to use our last stamina to potentially attack this guy. Again, we're going to go with swing and see how it goes. Now I got 3 of them. Now, the interesting thing, though, is if you do get 3, that doesn't mean you get to do 3 successful hits. You're just looking for the potential to do the 1. So I'm going to do 1 light, not 3 light for each one of these successes. You only get the 1 no matter how many you roll. So I'm going to do the 1, which does take this character out. He has no more cubes on his card, so we were able to defeat the enraged spirit. We'll be placing this back in the box unless, of course, the quest tells us to remove it from the game. I don't know about you, but that was super exciting. We barely made it. Oh, I had no stamina. I'm almost dead. Now, I want to mention this right here. This is our final blow. If I was here and he did, let's say, 732,000 points of damage, you would always stop on your final blow. Now, if you ever take any damage past that, then you would become critically wounded. And at that point, we would have to draw an event card and resolve it. And then I would take as many threat tokens as the number of players in the game and distribute them between any cards that accept them or between any strongholds in the stronghold chart. So it is super bad to get critically wounded. On top of that, if any of those quest cards gain enough threat to remove them, that's a way of failing some of these quests. So you don't ever want to get critically wounded in this absolutely bad news city. And we almost did. So at this point, now that the battle's over, if there's no more enemies to fight and you're done with the, let's say, dungeon or whatever encounter you're in, you're going to restore yourself back up to full, which is fantastic. Now, some of the quests may tell you not to heal yourself up, so I should have probably read the rest of the quest before we healed ourselves, but I'm guessing that was just all we had to do for this quest. So we were successful, so flip it over, and we're going to gain the success on this. It says she is grateful. I gained 3 soul shards and 3 experience. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So we're going to put those onto our character sheet. We are up to 4 soul shards and 5 experience points. At this point, it says, the summoner uses a spell to trace Morvoria Canari's note. Her eyes go white, and she slams her fist on the table. The Kajat has peculiar allies. A Kajat caravan. Outside Farleth, she falls unconscious. So we have 2 options here now. I will talk to the Kajat and try to get information on her, on this particular person, or I'll ambush the Kajat and force them to talk about this person. Oh, those are 2 different options. I don't think this person's very good at talking. It just doesn't seem like a Nord thing to do. So I think we are going to go try to ambush this person. We're going to take quest card 178. But before we do, we're going to take our 3 soul shards and our 3 experience points. So we have enough, if we wanted to potentially enchant some of these items I have now, which might make them more powerful and better for me to actually hit and kill things. I don't know. This person did not live up to my expectations in that fight. I almost died. That was out of control. And taking our next quest card, it tells us that we have to put our quest token in Falkreth. And once we get there, we'll be able to continue reading on this card. Now, this is a level 1 quest, so I might want to try to maneuver around, maybe fight some things in some dungeons to try to get to at least level 1 so we have more power to be able to try to take this person out. I'm going to take them out, but at least complete the quest, whatever we have to do. Now, Falkreth is all the way down here. So we got quite a long trek to make to get all the way out here. So I think we'll have plenty of time probably to level up as we travel on down. I still don't have any gold, so I can't use the carriage to come running down here. So at this point, we're probably going to have to do some moving. Now, before we move on, the stronghold does give us the ability to upgrade and enchant items if we want to, and we can do anything in the following order. We can decide to take an action which we can complete a quest. We could also sell, buy items, craft items, upgrade, or buy a horse, and we can do those in any order. So I'm going to choose to upgrade I try to enchant one of them because we got 4 of these things. So we're going to grab an enchantment card, and I think I'm going to try to enchant our iron shield. I think that'll be really cool. So the way this works is we're going to draw 1 enchantment and upgrade card. If we don't like that, we could push by spending another soul shard to try to enchant to get a different enchantment. If we were upgrading, we would have to spend another of these iron in order to try to grab another card. So we'll grab the top card, see what it says, and maybe it'll be really sweet here. It says magical damage. When facing those type of foes, gain 1 damage to all of your attacks. All right, that's pretty cool. Why not? We'll give it to him, this thing. I don't know how often we're going to fight one of those, but for now, our iron shield has that. That does cost me 2 in order to enchant it. So I'm just going to flip this one over to the other side, and we now still have 2, which means I could enchant something else I want to, but for now I think we're just fine. We are going to move on to the next turn. And to do that, we're just going to take back our first player token and draw our next event card and see what it says. We have Horse Thief. It's in Wildhelm. First off, we have to add 2 to this. We have to put a token on Wildhelm, and notice this is going to be a world quest, I think. It says here it's a active event. Oh no, it's an active event. And it says gain a horse. And the card is, and then I have to take card 551 and then discard this card. So let's go check this out. So first off, we are going to remove this mysterious mystery bargain and put a horse thief out there. We're also going to have to drop 2 of these threat tokens onto a card. And I think we're going to drop it again right onto our particular main quest card because I can store 4 on it. Now you could choose to drop them however you want. For example, if I have the 2 quests, which I do, I could put 1 on each. I don't have to drop them all on one thing. I could choose to spread these around as much as I want to. But I think putting them both on that main quest is a good idea because we'll probably get to that pretty soon. And I have to put a token in Wildhelm, and maybe we'll stop there on the way. If it is on the way, we'll have to check the map and see where it is. Looking at our map, Wildhelm is a little bit out of the way, but it's not too bad. We might have to come back, but it might be another event that happens before this one, so I'd not be able to do that. But going here and gaining a horse is going to give us so much extra movement. We get 1 more extra movement a turn. I know it doesn't seem like much, but more movement is always better. After drawing our event card and resolving it, I am going to move 1-2 down to Wildhelm, and we're going to take on this quest. So this particular quest, of course, does say gain a horse. So I get a horse, and I have to take card S51. So the horse tokens look like this, and they give you +1 movement. So we'll put that down next to our character, and we'll take card S51. So this might not have been the best idea possible because now there's a bounty on me in Eastmarch because after all, that guy was a thief. So I bought the horse from a thief who stole it. And now it says when entering Eastmarch, clear 347 or turn in 5 gold. Or I can turn in 10 gold anywhere in Eastermarch to discard this card. Now we're already there. Or no, it's not. Oh boy, I gotta get out of here. When entering Eastmarch, so I'm already in Eastmarch, so I don't have to deal with this right now, but I am probably gonna have to deal with it at some time because who knows, one of my quests might go back there. So now somehow I have to gain 5 gold in order to try to deal with this. That was not my smartest plan, but hey, I got a horse. I guess that's half the battle. We're gonna move our first player token over to him. We also have to discard that card. I shouldn't say discard. I have to remove this card. This card is no longer in the game. We have to put that into the out of the game box. And if you look at my player board, the statuses are going to go down here. So whenever we enter that Eastmarch, though, I've got to turn in 5 gold. I got to get 10 gold in order to get rid of this. Or, of course, I could just take out 347. I'm going to guess that's a guard, and I'm going to guess he would beat me into next week. I now get to move 5 spaces with my horse, not sure if it's worth it. And since we're already in Eastmarch, from what I understand, I wouldn't be having to pay the 5 gold at this particular time. So we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 right down to this dungeon. We're going to try to take out some enemies. That'll be awesome. In our action, we'll be going into the dungeon. So we're going to grab 2 of these because that is the symbol we are dealing with. So we're going to grab the top 2 cards from that particular deck and we're going to resolve them. If you notice, there's a space in between these. So we're going to resolve each of these and we're going to resolve this combat, then move over to this combat. That's different if there were a linked thing, if this was all one picture here showing 2 different people, then you would have to deal with both of them at the same time. But these are going to be individual creatures, so we're going to start with this one, and then we're going to have to deal with this one. So we've got a bear, which looks out of control, but we got a mud crab, who doesn't look too bad. Let's see how this goes. The first person we're going to try to take out is this mud crab. The mud crab does have a sneak of 1, so I'm going to try to sneak in and get him. I get to roll 4 dice because of my extra 1 for my ragged robes. Let's see how this goes. I need to get that one particular symbol that apparently I either roll a bunch of or I never roll it. I did pass that, so I'm going to be able to use one of my attacks from my weapon here. And I'm going to choose just to do I can do the 2 big crushing here. I'm going to use a slash, which is going to do 2 damage. But he does have the 2 defense against that particular attack. So he's only going to take 1. It's going to go down to 1. So at this point, we're now going to enter our main combat. So roll up his attack die and see what he gets. He got the double swords, which is nothing. So we're again going to use our iron sword here to try to take him out. I don't know why I keep trying this, but we're going to try our swing. Let's see how this goes. Come on, swing. Oh, swing worked. Fantastic. It did the 1 damage. This guy is totally dead. We do have to pay our 1 stamina in order, actually 2 stamina. I apologize. 1 for the sneak attack and then 1 for the actual slash attack. So we had to use both of those stamina points, and we were able to defeat him, giving us 1 more experience point. So we're at 6 experience here. Also, when you're able to defeat an enemy, and notice, remember those 2 rooms were separated, you're able to heal back your stamina and your magicka before you fight the next character, which will be that bear. You do not recover your health until you've completely finished the dungeon. So we do have to remember that. So I did get my stamina back, so we're ready to go into the next battle. Also, between those 2 rooms, I could choose to swap out any of my equipment or trade amongst many of my friends I had here as well. It gives us the ability to do that if we want to. But we're not going to. We're sitting pretty strong and pretty happy the way we are. So let's move in and try to take out that bear. Moving into the next room, again, I get to try to sneak. I need to get a 3. I need 3 of these. We'll see if this works. Let's see. Oh, I got the 3. Wow, I can't believe it. All right, so that means we're able to perform one of our attacks. And we've got our iron sword. You know what we're doing here. We're doing the big old giant attack there, and that's going to cost me 1 stamina point. And I'm going to do 2 damage to him. 1, 2, right down to here. Now, he doesn't have any defense against that particular attack. So he's not able to block or to reduce any of the damage from my actual sword here. We're going to move into our actual combat turn now, and he is going to attack and see what he rolls for his thing here. He has Crush, which is going to do 2 damage. I'm totally fine with that. I can take 1 because I do have my shield, which is going to absorb 1 of the damage. So at this point, we're going to move into our turn. Let's see how we do here. We're going to slash at him. I need that particular icon there in order to do it. So we're going to pay 1 stamina and roll our dice and see what we get. We got 2 diamonds, which is not what we're looking for. We're looking for that particular symbol. So I am going to push myself, bringing my stamina down yet again to roll another die in and see wow, how many of those can I get? There's only 1 of them on the dice. I'm going to push 1 more time and see how we do. Now remember, I can only push twice, so this is the last time I can push. I got the symbol, and that's going to do the 2 damage. 1, 2. We have destroyed the bear. I shouldn't say destroyed the bear. We totally took him out. So he's super dead, and I'm going to gain 1 experience point, a level B item, and I get 1 more herb. Here's our herb and our experience point. We also get a bronze item here. Let's see what we have found. We are able to find ourselves what's this? A potion of healing. We already have a potion. Oh, we got a minor. This is a regular one. So I only have to turn in 1 herb in order to heal 1 health. That's fantastic. I'm totally going to put that in there. I will actually just kind of stick that one. I can keep them both there. I don't know why I would ever use the other one. But, you know, I can use 2 because it shows that I can put up to 4 things into this little area here. And I believe that means you get 2 rings and 2 potions. On top of the rewards we received from the bear, well, I'm also going to reset all my stuff because we're able to clear the dungeon. We also do get a treasure equal to the level of the highest defeated enemy. Well, both of our enemies were 0s, so the 0 here is right here. So we're just going to get a regular bronze treasure. If it were to be 2 or 3, we would get a silver treasure, and the 4, we'd get one of those gold treasures. It'd be really sweet. But we're just going to take our next bronze treasure and see what we have found. We have found ourselves, what's this? An amulet of articulation. I'm super excited about this. I get +1 die for my speech. Well, now I kind of wish I would have went and negotiated instead of actually just trying to, what am I going to do? Take this guy out. So we'll see. Wish I would have had known that was coming. I'm going to put that with my trinkets, and I have a healing potion and an amulet of negotiation, I guess you could say, or articulation. There we go. We'll put that right there. Now remember, I can carry up to 4 of those, and I'll have to start putting things into my backpack. Wow. Okay, so we got a good ring there. We got a better healing potion. That was awesome. I do have 7 experience points, so we are going to start leveling up at the end of this turn. Also, since it is the end of the turn, one thing we have to do is reset our dungeon deck. So I'm going to take the top card that I'm not going to look at, take the discard pile, and we're going to shuffle all 3 of these together here and put them all right back on top so we don't know what's there. We could have a newer, maybe more powerful monster now sitting on top of this deck, maybe a level 1, because these are arranged from 0 to 9 or 7, I think, 7 is the highest, from 0 to 7. So if the first 2 were 0s and the third one was a 1, well, then now it's mixed in here, and I don't know. I could be fighting a more dangerous foe. Now, if you ever get powerful enough where that's really not going to play a factor, you just shuffle the whole deck together, and you never know what's going to be on top. Oh my gosh, that'd be out of control. Coming to the end of our turn here, another thing we have to do is we have to level up. If players have enough experience to level up, they have to level up. You can't not level up. Now, if I would have gotten more experience than I needed in order to get past my level, I don't gain that extra experience point. Nothing really ever carries over. So I'm going to get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to pay these 7 experience here to level myself up, which means I get to gain a skill. If we look at our character, he gets a little bit extra stuff because he's a Nord. So I could learn two-handed and add +1 damage to any of my attacks that use a two-handed weapon. Or after learning smithing, my upgrades cost 1 fewer. Also, I do have a power I've never actually used, and I don't know if I ever will, but we'll see. It says in combat I can lose 1 health to use an other offensive action without being attacked. That might be really handy if you're fighting something that has a lot of things that can attack you. Like I could have used it against that spirit, and maybe that would have been good because that thing kept rolling to attack me, but you never know what they're going to roll. And just taking the 1 damage might be a better option than actually getting whacked by one of the monsters. That's going to be, so we are able to spend the 7. We're going to gain a skill. Should we get the two-handed skill or should we get the smithing skill? Oh, it's a tough choice. Or do I get something completely different? I could, for example, get that archery skill if I wanted to. Or I'm using a one-handed weapon right now. I could grab this. I could grab a skill for one-handed swords and I would be able to get my +1 die when attacking with them. Oh, it's such a tough choice. I think we're going to take that. I think we're going to take one-handed. Even though I do get a little bit extra for two-handed, I've already upgraded my shield, and I think that's kind of cool to have. So we're going to take one-handed weapons. That's the deal. We're going to take that and place it right there. Now remember, in Skyrim, just like in the game that you play on the video screen, I can't believe I said that. That was awesome. On the video screen, you can make your character be whoever you want. There is no requirements or any detriment to what you take. I could make this guy the most powerful magic user ever if I wanted to. Or I could make him a ranger or an archer if I wanted to. Even though he doesn't have skills that really help in that way, you can always make people exactly you want to make them. Another thing I get to do as my level up is I get to choose one of these to go up 1 level. I think we're going to take our stamina. Our stamina is going to go up 1 because we've already seen how well I am at rolling dice, so having to push with my stamina might be something I might want to do. Now, as we level up, these decks that we fight against are going to change. These are like some of the monster decks and treasure decks and things of that nature. As you're leveling up your character, you're going to be removing certain monsters from the dungeon. As I said, they do become more powerful and are going to be harder to take out. So as we level up, those are going to change as well. I'm really sad I still have not gotten any gold. Maybe we might get one in our quest. But first, we're going to take back our first player token and draw an event. Come on, event, don't be super bad. How about no threat on the board? We found, 2 threat on the board. Treasure Hunter. It's a world quest. Riches beyond belief are hidden in ancient chambers. Can you get them without waking the undead menace? I have to put down 2 threat, and then look at this. I have to put a token on one of these, I think it's like tombs or something, in the Pale. So I have to go there, and then I'm able to take these out, maybe, potentially. Now this is a world quest, so it's going to go in a different place than over here. Over on this side of the board is a set of world quests. These are going to stay out here. They can also gain threat, which is kind of good because I'm actually planning to put one on that particular world quest. I hopefully don't find something that'll say put threat on a world quest or I'm in big trouble. And I'm going to place this onto our main quest. We now have 3 on that main quest. The reason I'm putting it here is because and I'm hoping I can get to this. We'll see if that happens. But it does say in order to do it, I have to clear 3 of these monsters. I don't know how we're going to do that. It'll be real tough. And then we're going to gain some awesome things. If we fail, we're going to be adding vampires to the space, which actually could help me out as well, because then they would become roaming monsters from how I understand this. We are going to move right into our area and take on our quest inside Falkreth. Here is our quest, and I'm sure people have already noticed I actually grabbed the wrong quest when I originally grabbed it, which I put a subtitle in the video. And of course, if there's anything else that happens post-launch, please check the comments section where I usually try to pin any errors that people can learn from. This one says, the Khajiit are quickly spending the night on the outskirts of Falkreth. So we still had to go to Falkreth, which is fantastic. And now it says that we're there. Most of them are asleep and only one keeps guard. I prepare my weapons and jump from the shadows. So we have objective. We have to clear card number 378. So here's our character that we have to take out, 378, a Khajiit guard. It has sneak 5. Well, that's not going to happen because I can't even roll 5 dice and you can't push on a sneak. So I'm just going to say that I didn't sneak attack him because there's no way for roll 5. But this character can ambush me. So it's going to get a free roll on me if I fail my sneak, which I'm automatically going to do. So let's roll this up and see what happens. It got an axe, and the axe is not located anywhere on his card, so he did not hit me with any of his superpowers of ambushing abilities. So instead, we're going to jump right into combat. We're going to roll up the red die and see what he does. He's going to get an axe again. That's perfect. So I'm going to use my big old iron sword here because this thing is amazing. And I get to roll 4 dice now because I'm using a one-handed weapon. Let's see how this goes. Rolling up 4 dice. I should have said what I'm going to do. We're going to crush or slash at him so that I can do the 2 damage against his light armor. 1, 2, just like that. And that's the end of that round. We'll go into the next round. Let's see what he does next. He is going to use a fireball. And, well, I shouldn't say that, not really a fireball, but it is going to do 3 heavy damage or 3 light damage. And when it comes to deciding what type of damage an enemy does, it's always going to be the most advantageous for them. Well, I do have 1 defense against both of those. So I'm only going to take 2 health, and that's totally fine. We'll take our 2 health. I am going to spend my 1 stamina point now to attack this particular character. I'm going to roll again my 4 dice with my sword here. And this time we're going to do swing, I think is going to be my plan. Or should we do the slash again? No, we're going to do swing. Swing is going to be the better one to do here. No, it's not. Why do I ever try for swing? I should always just keep slashing. Look at that. That's out of control. I'm going to push once with my stamina to try to get this swing thing going on here. And we didn't. Why would... What's this? It's unbelievable. All right, that's the end of round 2. That did not go very well. Let's roll up our die again and see what he does. He's going to do nothing. I love that. I'm going to try to... Do I really try to swing again? The odds are I'm supposed to get that more often. Maybe we should try the slash. I don't know. We'll try swinging again. Come on, we got to get that symbol. Look at this. This is out of control. I have rolled this symbol more than any other symbol on the dice. All right, we're going to do the 1 damage with the slash because he does have 2 defense, so I'm only able to do 1. So that's going to be enough to bring it down to 1. So if you haven't noticed, I'm going to have to hit him 2 more times here before he knocks me out. Let's see how he goes. He got an axe, which is another symbol that he does not have. So this time we're going to do our swing again and see how it goes. We did get these, so I'm going to hit the heavy one for 1 damage, moving it out of there. And now we're going to see what he does. He is going to do, he's going to do that fireball again. So I'm going to take a total of 3 heavy or 3 light. And I have 1 defense to both of those. So that means I'm going to take 2 damage. And unless I decide to take a defensive action, that's going to put me at my fatal blow. And that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to go down to fatal blow, totally fine. I'm going to use 1 stamina to try to hit him. This is coming down to the wire yet again. I need to do a swing, and we need to get that. Yes, we got the symbol. We got all the symbols. Look at it. We got a plethora of symbols, all 3. That's going to be the 1 damage we need to take him out. He's not going to give us any rewards at all. As you can see, there's nothing here, but we did complete the quest by defeating this. Let's see what happens since we were able to clear 378 here. The success states, the guard dies screaming. His friends terrified. Pay me to spare their lives. Well, there we go. Look at that. I got 7 gold and 2 experience points. And I'm going to place the next marker on Solitude. It says, the commotion draws the Khajiit out of their tents. I have 100 men surrounding this camp, I scream. They seem to buy my bluff. When I inquire about Morvia Carnia, they hastily tell me how she betrayed them. They think she now is working with some foreign power. So I'm going to draw card number 180. And look at this. I'm going to get 7 gold, 2 experience points. Oh, so good. We got our 7 gold, which is right here on the backside. They are 5s. 2 experience here. We're going to heal ourselves completely back up. That was a close one as well. It's on my final blow. If I would have missed that attack, the things could have maybe gone really poorly for me. Of course, I probably could use my potion to save me the next round if I really wanted to. That's the end. And I do have to gain card number 180. Now, remember at the beginning when we started the game, it told us to remove card 180, 181, and 182. So when it tells you to go grab a card and it's not there, you continue going until you find the next card. So the next card that in our grouping would have been 183. It says here, the Thalamore evidence card. Morvia Carnia is definitely working for the Thalamore. The organization has no right to operate in Skyrim. The High King needs to know about this urgently. So our objective is to gather all players at Solitude, then flip the evidence cards you have. That's pretty awesome. Now remember, this says 4, so I could actually put some stuff on if I needed to. The cool thing about it is the fact that if you're playing cooperatively, you couldn't finish this until everybody else was there and ready to go, which means you could go out and do some exploring in the world, do some other personal quests and things of that nature. But since we're playing solo, we're going to be able to go right over there. And we're going to start by handing this over to the another player and move towards that new place. Now, one thing I could do, of course, since we didn't complete our quest and we can do these things in the order in this particular place we are, I could maybe buy something there. I could try to enchant one of our items and things of that nature, but I'm not going to. We're just going to continue on. I think we're doing pretty good. Another thing I want to mention is on this card, if we would have failed, this right here states that we should discard one of the blade cards. Remember we set aside a bunch of cards that are part of the blades? I would have had to remove one of those from that stack. Our goal is all the way back up here. We're down here. Again, it's going to take us a turn or two to get there. We do still have that world quest, which is right here, but I don't know if we can take those on. We're still only level 1, and those are a lot more powerful enemies coming in at this area here. It's these type of enemies here. And not only that, it's not that card we're dealing with. This is the card we're dealing with, and we've got to take out 3 of them. I don't know if we're able to do that right now. So we're going to hold off on that world quest. And I think instead what we're going to do is we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Remember, I've got that horse, which allows me to move that far. Now that we moved, it's time to do an action, and I am going to choose to explore. So we're going to grab the top card from that deck, and we're going to explore and see what we found. We have found Onashar Mishir, the Dark Brotherhood member, a gift from the Night Mother. Do not fail her. I'm going to gain 1 resource of my choice, which is pretty sweet. And then I have the Brotherhood Gossip. I have to roll speech, and we get +1 because of our Amulet of Articulation. Woot woot. And we're going to need these type of successes. I can push with money. And if I succeed, I get 2 experience points and 2 more of these. Then I remove this and gain quest card 38. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Let's do it. So just like in Skyrim, some random guy came walking up to me, gives me one of these from the Night Mother, and wants to talk to me. And I decided to take an herb. I'm going to roll 4 dice because I get +1 speech due to my articulate amulet of articulation thing here. I need 3 of these successes in order to pass this. I got 2. Oh no, I only got 2. So I can push with money. And I've got a ton of money right now. I'm pretty excited about it, though I wanted to have 10 money so I can get rid of that bounty. We're going to roll our dice and see if we're able to get it. We did not get it. So if I want to push again, I can. I mean, we've got the money. Why not, right? And this isn't a certain amount you can push. You can push as many times as you want for these types of checks, because this is not a combat. We got it. That's our 3. We were able to do the result we wanted. We get 2 experience points and then 2 more resources of my choice, and we're going to get quest 38. We'll gain 2 experience points, place them right there. Oh, that one flipped over to a 3. We don't want to do that. I would like to do that, but that's not how it works. And then I'm going to gain 2 more of this ore. I have a plan with it, and we'll see how this all transpires. Then we get number 38. It says Death of a Thane. It says the Brotherhood is looking for recruits. Those who are worthy can apply in Dawnstar. We will be watching you in the meantime. So I'm going to gain this. I'm going to put a token down on Dawnstar. Now that's our 2nd personal quest. We can't get any more personal quests. So I'll place one of my tokens down on Dawnstar. I will also be removing that card from the game, and we'll be moving our token back over to us, and we'll be drawing our next event card and see what we have found. We have found vampires on the road. Our time has come. Move one vampire token toward the nearest stronghold. If it reaches the stronghold, degrade it and remove the token. If there are no vampire tokens on the board, place one in a wild space, or the wilderness space, I'm sorry, and I have to put out 2 of this threat. And this isn't anything that's going to stick out. Once this takes place, it's gone. We'll just put it right into the discard pile. I'll place our 2 threat again right on my main quest. And something I might not have mentioned as we were doing this is when you do complete these quests, these go away. They don't persist, which is why I'm continuously putting them on my main quest. Now, if I think I can complete one of these pretty quickly, I might start putting maybe one on those as well. But I don't know if I'll have a chance to do that right away, so I'm just going to keep putting them here, at least for now. Of course, I could put them on strongholds, but I don't like putting them on strongholds because that makes it just so much more hard to be able to do stuff in those strongholds. So we have our Wandering Monster tokens. They're these tokens right here. They are double-sided, and when one comes out on the board, you're supposed to flick it in the air like a coin, and then that's the one that's going to be placed where you want it to, and I'm going to place it right there. The reason why is because I'm planning to come straight through this place. I'm going to take this guy out. That's my goal. So that's what we're going to do, and that's the end of that event turn, or the events. So now it's my turn. I'm going to move my guy. I'm going to move him right there. I'm going to take him out. That's going to be awesome. So we're going to end here on this roaming monster. If you do decide to use the miniature pack for this, you could just put the miniature out there, and until you actually decide to move into the square and start resolving this fight, that's when you would flick the token in the air, unlike what I did when I placed it. You could put the miniature there first, and it could roam around and do whatever it needs to, but until you actually come in contact with it, then you would flip the token. As for us, we're going to be taking on Vampire, 366. Let's go take him out. Here's our vampire. He looks pretty cool. Let's see all the cool things he can do. He first has a sneak value of 3, so I have to get a 3 or better in order to sneak on him. He heals 1 of his magic defense if he uses the drain attack on me to do 2 damage. Now, sadly for me, I'm not actually very good against a lot of his attacks. I'm hoping the most he ever does is this swing. I think that's about the best thing that could come for me. We're going to put his little tokens down there, and then we're going to see if we can sneak on him. I do get to roll 4 dice, so there is a chance. There's a chance we can get this guy. We'll see if we get it. I got 1, 2, 3. I did it. Oh my gosh, I got him. Okay, that's fantastic. I'm going to use 1 stamina, and we're going to hit him with one of my bigger attacks. We're going to use the 2 damage attack here because he doesn't have any defense against that. And we're going to instantly knock down his magic defense by 2. And we'll move into our combat turn. Let's see what he's going to do to us. We'll roll up our die and see what it is. A lightning bolt. He's going to freeze me. I'm going to take 2 damage and 1 stamina. Do I really want to do that, or do I want to dodge it? I could block it. I could parry it. I could do anything I want against it. I think we're going to be okay. I'm going to take 1 stamina, and I'm going to take 2 damage because I don't have any defense against that. And we're going to roll up our 4 dice with our one-handed weapon. And I'm going to choose, it really doesn't matter which one I choose because I do 1 damage with the light, or I can do the 2 damage with the heavy. We're going to go with the heavy. Oh wait, the heavy is harder to hit with. Remember, in theory, it's harder to hit with. So we're going to go with the swing and see how that goes. Oh my gosh, I almost didn't get it again. I can't believe these dice. I'm going to do the 1 damage on the pink die right there because I believe once it's gone, even if he drains, I don't think he's going to get his heal back. I could be wrong about that. Please let me know in the comments below. We're going to roll up and see what he does. He doesn't do drain. He does swing, which is going to do 2 light defense. Now I do have my ragged rolls, which does give me 1 defense towards that, so I'm only going to take 1 damage. At this point, we're going to try to swing again. Do I do the swing? It's just, I can't believe this. We're going to swing again, see how it goes. Look at this. This is out of control. All right, well, I'm going to have to push with my stamina to try to do this. Let's see if we can do this. We're running out of stamina pretty quick against this guy. I need a swing. Come on, swing. Wow. I'm going to try one more time. Come on, swing. Let's do it. There it is. I can't believe it took me 6 dice to get a 50-50 shot. Unbelievable. Oh, it's so good. I'm going to do the 1 damage. That'll kill this guy, which means then I will get 1 experience point and a resource of my choice. And I'm going to choose a soul gem. I'm going to grab a soul gem and I get 1 more experience points here. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 experience. That's fantastic. And I was also able to work on one of my quests. Remember, I have this quest about trying to take out roaming monsters. So we have to clear 3 of them. So we're able to clear 1. So I am going to put one of these tokens on that card to show that I have done 1 of those. I just need to do 2 more. We also are going to heal because that is how the game goes. We're able to heal ourselves up. That's all we got from it. We are going to put this guy back in the box. At some point, we might see this little vampire dude again. We'll find out sometime down the line. But I'll put him back in the box for now. That's the end of our turn. We're going to pass this token over to our other player. The other thing I forgot is if you're able to defeat a roaming monster, you do get to move 1 space on the board. So I'm just going to move up there. Now for my movement, I'm going to move up here and we're going to work on our quest. But before we do, since we are in a stronghold, I can do these in any order. The first thing I am going to do is we're going to try to upgrade one of our equipment. I'm going to upgrade our longsword. So how we're going to do this is the player selects the item and upgrade enchant, and the player pays for the upgrade enchantment costs. And then I'm going to draw a card. I do not have smithing. If I did, that'd be fantastic because I could pay 1 fewer to upgrade, but I don't. Maybe that's something we might want to look into. At this point, the player selects the card and applies its selected item. The player shuffles all the other drawn cards back into the deck. So at this point, we're going to pay 2 to do a craft or a upgrade here. It's going to cost me 2 to do this, so I'm going to pay the 2. We're going to draw a card and see what we get. We're going to upgrade our iron sword. We have a iron sword is now going to be get +1. So now I get +1 dice to that particular attack. And it looks like it's going to be +1 to our swing is what it is. That's fantastic. Now, if I was not satisfied with that particular card, I could pay my other or to grab another one and decide which one I want, but I'm okay with that. +1 is good enough. And besides, I need all the help I can do and get in order to get these symbols. Are you kidding me? That's unbelievable. They could never roll those symbols. So at this point, all players are here, so we're going to flip the evidence card, and it does say gain 2 experience points, and if there are at least 2 tokens next to Solitude, I get to go to 210 and read it aloud. Otherwise, I'm going to go to 211 and read it aloud. Looking at our character in Solitude, we're going to be able to look at the amount of tokens we have there and figure out what we have that we're going to be drawing from. And after looking at what we have, it looks like we have 2. We have 1 from the original setup, and we got 1 from finishing this quest right here and gaining this extra token on Solitude. So with those 2, we're going to draw card 210 and see what happens to us here as we go and try to complete our quest. It says, you listen to the king. The Thalnor shouldn't be operating in my kingdom, but you don't know, do you? The war is over. The Dominion and the Empire have signed an armistice. The Blade have been disbanded. I have granted you an audience out of respect, but you must leave my palace immediately. Take this and may Thalos watch over you. The High King gives you a sack of serptims. Find a place to hide. A storm is coming your way. Ooh, all right. And it says here, flip the card. Let's see what it says. Oh, I gained $5. Oh, that'll get rid of my status. That'll be awesome. Oh, chapter 1 is complete. Place all the cards and surplus tokens in a different save game box for each player. Oh, fantastic. So we're going to save our game here, and I'll show you how all that goes. And we get 5 gold. Here's our 5 gold. We now have 10. Now, one thing I did wrong that I want to mention before we pack up this game and move on to the next mission is when we fought this bear. Down here, it shows that we got 1 experience point, a treasure, and a herb. Now, these boxes are per character. So in solo mode, you're only going to select 1 of these. But if you had 2 people fighting this bear, the person who defeated it would be able to pick the first thing, and then the second person would get what is left. Or if there are even 3 boxes, then the first person would choose, the second would choose out of what's left. So everybody, if you're fighting something really strong, it might have 4 boxes worth of stuff, and you can divide that up. Of course, you can talk about it. You're not just going to, unless you're playing competitively, then you're going to take your best object. But if you're playing cooperatively, certain people might need certain things out of what is listed down here. So for this particular thing, I am going to remove this herb because I should not have got that because I chose to take the item, which was, I think, with a healing potion. And then we got that because we cleared actually the dungeon. So I just want to make sure we got that taken care of so people understand that as you fight these monsters, depending on the player count is how you're going to divide up this loot. Now the experience points, everybody gets that as part of the combat. So everybody that fights gets whatever experience points are on the card. Now to save our game, we're going to take our save box for the particular color we are. I have chosen red for that. So we're going to take our character, all the items that they have, any of the upgrades and things of that nature. On top of that, all of these tokens are going to go in there. Any skills we have are going to go in there. And if you have any legendary skills, you're going to add in these tokens. And the only reason you're adding these certain tokens in there, these threat tokens, is to remind you that you have legendary skills. Once you put your character back out there, you'll be able to turn any of the skills to legendary skills based on how many you have of these, and then you'll just discard them back to the box. On top of that, you're going to reset your player board, and you're going to give yourself any upgrades towards the player board equal to the amount of skills. They do not have to be the same ones you have at this particular time. You can choose a different upgrade path when you come back to the game if you want. So for example, I'm going to move this back over to here, and then when we come back, when I decide to unbox my character and go into the next chapter, since I have one skill, maybe I might want to choose health this time to go up. So it's interesting that they allow you to do that. You're also going to take any of your personal quests and take those along with you, and I believe you take any of the tokens going with it, so I believe we still have the one here. I could be wrong about that. We do get to keep our horse, for example. We get to keep all of this stuff. It's all going to go right into our box, and when we come back out, we're just going to put it all out there. Sadly, I also have to keep my status as well, so barf on that. But that's okay. It's going to be kind of cool to see all this stuff come back out for our next chapter, chapter 2, which we'll be doing in the next video. And if you're watching this on the One Stop Co-op Shop, do remember this is going to be the only video on there. If you're interested in seeing more of Skyrim, please check out the rest of the playthrough over on my channel, Meet Me at the Table. It'll be in the description of this video. And if you're watching it on Meet Me at the Table, well, good luck or congratulations. You're going to be seeing another video hopefully pretty soon because this game is a ton of fun. Now, when it comes to doing the board, it's going to be very similar. You're going to take all of the events and everything that you have, you're going to shuffle them all back together and put them into the box that says board save game. On top of that, we're going to put any roaming monster tokens, the event cards, the world quests, and any other cards that are affecting the board. We'll be putting those into the save game box. Anything that is removed from the game will always be removed and won't be returning to the game. When we decide to come back from this, not only after setting our player board up, we're going to have to set up the main board. And some of the things that are going to come back out are those roaming monsters. And you're going to place those into any of the wilderness locations. Of course, if there are not enough wilderness spaces for the roaming monsters, first off, you're in big trouble. But second off, you can put them on dungeon spaces. You'll also take all the events you put into the box and shuffle them back up to use them as a new event deck. If you had any world quests that were out there, they won't be active again until they're drawn from that event deck. So as you saw before, we had our world event out on the board. This one was out there. Instead, this is just going to get shuffled right back into the event deck, and we're going to hopefully it'll come out again later, because that would have been a really fun quest to get through because you get a really powerful item. It comes from the A deck, which is our most powerful set of cards, I believe. Oh no, that's the silver one. I apologize. That's the silver deck of cards, which is better than any of the cards I've got, that's for sure. So there you have it. We made it through Chapter 1 of the game Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim, the board game. This is a super fun game. I'm having a lot of fun being able to move around, and just like in the game, so many different things are happening at once that you have to kind of work on, and you don't just want to get put right into your main quest. There are so many other things to be doing as well. We have to fight roaming monsters. We have to potentially go out and maybe fight that crypt, but now of course a lot of that's going to be brought back into the box, and it'll have to come out again, and maybe we'll see some new quests, some new events, some new things. There's a huge deck here. We didn't see even over half of this deck to see what other things could have happened in the events that are part of Skyrim. If you did enjoy the playthrough, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell symbol so you know when more Skyrim comes out. Also, please feel free to leave anything in the description below. I would love to hear from everyone. Have you had a chance to play the game? Are you enjoying this game? Are you not enjoying it? Wish you could have gotten something different? I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on Skyrim. Now, like I said, we'll be continuing this playthrough on Meet Me at the Table. This is a super fun game, and I'm excited to continue on to see what happens to our Nord. And of course, our character was chosen by my Patreon, so if you're interested in helping out how the game evolves, please look for the link for the Patreon in the description of this video, and feel free to join. It's totally optional. Some of the things that you're able to do is help me decide what game people are in the game, what games we play, and potentially what we're going to be painting up in our live painting episodes that I try to do at least once a week. Those that have already donated to the Patreon are right here. I appreciate all the support. It really makes me excited to see all these great people. Super excited to see these board games in action. Again, thank you so much for watching. And if you're excited to see if our Nord can continue the romp through Skyrim, then I need you to meet me at the table.